to feast before breakfast. Today we are looking at 2:11. I read, "Will you put up with a little foolish aside from me? Please, just for a moment. The thing that has me so upset is that I can care about you so much. This is the passion of God burning inside me. I promised your hand in marriage to Christ, presented you as a pure virgin to her husband, and now I'm afraid that exactly as the snake seduced Eve with ease, you are being lured away from the simple purity of your Christ." God says, "This is my promise to God, to you, that I'm going to hand you over as a bride to Christ, who is the bridegroom." Right now, you are allowing, just as Eve was seduced by the snake, you are being lured away from the simple purity of your love for Christ. Verse 4-6, it seems that if someone shows up preaching quite another Jesus than preached, different spirit, different message, you put up with him quite nicely. But if you put up with these big shoot apostles, why can't you put up with simple me? I'm as good as they are. It's true that I don't have their voice, having mastered that smooth eloquence that impresses you so much. But when I do open my mouth, I at least know what I'm talking about. We haven't kept anything back. We let you in on everything. So this is Apostle Paul still correcting the Corinthians, then defending his ministry. That I promise that I'm going to present you as bride to Jesus, a pure virgin to her husband, but you are allowing seduction. You are allowing yourself to be lured away from the simple purity of Christ. And now, how can you be lured away from the simple purity of Christ? You can be lured away from the simple purity of your love for Christ, false prophecy, false teachings, erroneous teaching, heresies. Those things can lure you, can seduce you. So Apostle Paul says, though I'm not as eloquent as those people, even though I've not mastered the art of smooth talk to impress you so much as those other people impress you, I am telling you that whenever I open my mouth to speak, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm speaking. Verse 4, let me read it in KJV. It says, "For if he that cometh preacheth another Jesus, whom we have not preached, or if ye received another spirit, which I have not received, or another gospel, which ye have not accepted, ye might well bear with him. For I suppose I was not a whit behind the very chiefest apostles, but though I be rude in speech, yet not in knowledge, but we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things. I might not be the chiefest among the apostles, but I know what I am saying. If anybody come to preach another Jesus, that's seduction that we have not preached. If you receive another spirit that we have not received, another gospel that we have not accepted, that is seduction. You are being lured away from the main focus, from the primary thing. Verse 7-12, I wonder, did I make a bad mistake in proclaiming God's message to you without asking for something in return, serving you free of charge so that you wouldn't be inconvenienced by me? It turns out that the other churches paid my way so you could have a free ride. Not once during the time I lived among you did anyone have lifted a finger to help me out. My needs were always supplied by the believers from Macedonia province." Can you see again? "I was careful never to be a burden to you, and I never will be. You can count on it. With Christ as my witness, it's a point of honor with me, and I'm not going to keep it quiet just to protect you from what the neighbors will think. It's not that I don't love you. God knows I do. I'm just trying to keep things open and honest between us." Paul is telling them, I do not inconvenience you in any way. I do not inconvenience you in any way. All the churches paid my way so you can have free ride. All the while I was with you, you never lift a finger to say, let's help him out. All my needs have been supplied by the Macedonian province. Now, Apostle Paul might not have asked for it. We dealt with this in 1 Corinthians. But let me tell you, your pastors doesn't have to ask for what is rightly theirs. Yes, they are laboring over you. The Bible says that he that labored in doctrine should be rewarded with double honor. They are laboring within, and you never lift a finger. All they needed was supplied by other churches, the Macedonia province, and yet you folded your arm and you're like, yeah. You need to feed your pastors, and not feed in terms of like giving them food and all, but they are feeding you spiritually. You to feed them, maybe financially or materially. It doesn't have to be big. Don't say, I'm sitting, I don't have anything, but you sit there every Sunday, your pastor pouring to you, your mentor pouring to you, your disciple are pouring to you, and you never give back. You never give back. Not even 5,000 naira, not even airtime, not even data. I'm a student, but you can afford data. You are a student, but you can afford to buy new clothes. I'm not saying you should not take care of yourself, or the money that is meant for your upkeep you should go and give to your pastors. But as much as you see that these things are necessity of life to you, please also include the welfare of your pastors. Some people will even look like somebody like that, the GO or pastor that already like have, because when we think of giving to pastors, or when we talk of giving to your pastors, your shepherd, you think of a pastor that are poor, that doesn't have. Sometimes your pastor are so wealthy, God has blessed them so much, the grace of God upon their life has brought blessings upon them, that they have need for nothing. Yeah, it's just like Apostle Paul, I have need for nothing. And then people go about saying, I cannot use a spoon to add water to an ocean. They already have. How can I be blessing somebody that already have? It's not about you blessing them. It's about what will come back to you. It's about the fact that you are honoring the grace of God upon their lives. Honor your pastor with your substance. This is bad of the Corinthians, that they never lift a finger while he was with them. That a pastor is in your midst, an apostle laboring over you, and it's another church that is funding his well-being under your roof. It is well. It is well. When your pastors are blessed, it can deceive you to think that they don't need anything from you. It can deceive you to think that you don't have to bless them, you don't have to give. At that moment, you are not giving them because they lack. You are giving to honor them. Yes, and if you have to give because you know that my pastor needs to pay his child school fees, or my pastor needs to settle this and that, give. But even if you know that my pastor is living in a gated estate, driving luxurious car, doing all of that, still give to honor the grace upon their life. And I'm not changing my position on this. I will die before taking your money. I'm giving nobody grounds for lumping me in with those money grumbling preachers, vaunting themselves as something special. They are a sorry bunch, pseudo apostles, lying preachers, crooked workers, boasting as Christ's agent, but shunned to the call. And no wonder Satan does it all the time, dressing up as a beautiful angel of light. So it shouldn't surprise us when his servants masquerade as servant of God, but they are not getting by with anything. They will pay for it in the end. So Apostle Paul says, I'm not going to allow you preach me in the caliber of pseudo apostles, of false apostles, of lying preachers, whose motive for being in the field is the gain and the profit that comes with it, the benefit, the advantages that come from it. No, that is not why I am doing it. No, I'm here to preach the gospel of Christ. But you need to be aware of those people. And let me tell you, from the beginning of the verse to this point, Apostle Paul already told us 2 ways to identify false prophets, false teachers, lying preachers. We always make noise about false prophets. There are also false teachers. There are also false preachers. And one of the way you will know them is that they would lure you. They will seduce you away from the truth. They will preach gospel that is outside that of Christ. They will preach the gospel that is not of Christ. They will preach another Jesus. They will preach another gospel. They will preach another spirit. Seduction, luring. Another way you'll be able to know them is that they will be after the profit and the advantage. They will ask, what is in it for me? What is in it for me? What is in it for me? What's the profit? What's the benefit? I was reading a book about ministry, and the man of God that wrote it said when he was going to take in pastors for his church, was it taking out or send them outside the country for mission work? The pastor was saying that, oh, how much are you going to pay me? The pastor was busy. It's just like you went for a secular job interview and you were asking your interviewers, oh, what is the need for me? So can you scale up this salary? I can't take salary. We're not saying that you should not work out for your good because you're working for God, but the man you wanted to employ made it more about the benefit than the souls. These are one of the ways we can know false prophet, false teachers. Verse 16 to 21, let me come back to where I started and don't hold it against me. So Apostle Paul says, even though I know this is my right, I wouldn't lord it over you because I don't want you to think that it's all about the money you give to me. Yes. But if your pastor says this, let me tell you, some pastor can even say on the altar, I don't need your money. God has blessed me. My dear, let it be that you allow the wisdom of God to help you still sow into that life. To still so, I happen to be in a church where anything that needs to be done in the church, the pastor, they announced they want to buy something, and my husband was like, oh, how are we going to be part of this? By the time we get back to church, they have done it. They don't bother to carry the congregation along. They don't teach the congregation giving. There is this man of God and some other families in the church. Sometimes they don't even announce. You just that they've gotten this done. Yes, we know that God will also bless us to that point where we also have to go and meet the pastor that, oh, these things are the things I'm getting done. You put your money there even before they announce. But it's not a good approach. Don't get your members involved in giving to the work of God. So if your pastor says, oh, I am blessed, God has blessed me, I don't need your money, let me tell you, still find a way to sow into that life. If your mentor is saying, oh, don't worry, I'm okay, you better let Holy Spirit help you now. Okay, let me come back to where I started. I don't hold it against me, and don't hold it against me if I continue to sound a little foolish, or if you would rather just accept that I'm a fool and let me rant on a little. I didn't learn this kind of talk from Christ. Oh no, it's a bad habit. I picked it up from the 3-ring preachers that are so popular these days. Since you sit there in the judgment seat observing all this, you can afford to humor on occasional fool who happens along. You have such admirable tolerance for impostors who rob your freedom, rip you off, steal you blind, put you down, even slap your face. I shouldn't admit it to you, but our stomachs aren't strong enough to tolerate that kind of stuff. Paul saying to the people that I do not learn this kind of talk from Christ, but I have to defend myself. If you, my children that I've labored over, cannot defend me, you still have issues with me, with my ministry, then I'd rather speak up for myself. And then he went on to even tell us more about the false prophet. He says that, let me start from here. He says that, oh no, it's a bad habit I pick up from 3-ring preachers that are so popular these days. 3-ring preachers that are so popular these days. Since you sit there in the judgment seat observing others, you can afford to humor an occasional fool who happens along. You have such admirable tolerance for impostors who rob your freedom. That is it. Another one. Rip you off, steal you blind, put you down, even slap your face. Have you seen people that when they come out to say certain things, you're like, are you for real? Like they have been ripped off. They have been robbed of their freedom. These impostors that call themselves apostles, call themselves preachers, they have steal people blind. They have put people down. They've slapped people off their face. Like sometimes I try to make sense out of a wife, a housewife coming out and saying that, oh, I was struggling with barrenness, and then I went to this church, and then I went to this man of God, and then this and this happened, and then now she's pregnant for that man of God she went to for deliverance. I'm trying to make sense out of man of God saying, oh, I have to bait you. You are baiting another man's wife. They have ripped you off. They have steal you rob you of your freedom, steal you blind, put you down, even slap your face. It doesn't mean literal slapping, but there are some things that it's like you have been brainwashed. These are the signs of false apostles. 21 to 23. Since you admire the egos of the pulpit so much, remember this is your old friend the fool talking. Let me try my hand at it. Do they brag of being Hebrews, Israelite, the pure race of Abraham? I'm their match. Are they servant of God? I can go them one better. I can't believe I'm saying these things. It's crazy to talk this way, but I started and I'm going to finish. So Apostle Paul is saying, okay, let's look at the profile of those people that have come to you and have lured you away from your simple purity, from your love for God. They've lured you away. You accepted them, and then you dare look me in the face and say, oh, I am a weakling when I'm with you. I'm mumbling words, but when I'm away, I am asked with my letter. They have brainwashed you. They have lured you away from your first love. Since you admire the ego of the pulpit, probably they come to you introducing themselves as Hebrew or Israelite or as the purest of Abraham, or maybe they even come to you saying that they are servant of Christ. 23-27. I have worked much harder, being jailed often, beaten up more times than I can count, and at death door time after time. I have been flogged 5 times with the Jews 39 lashes, beaten by Romans rod 3 times, pummeled with rocks once. I have been shipwrecked 3 times and immersed in the open sea for a night and a day. In hard traveling year in, year out, I have had to ford rivers, fend off robbers, struggle with friends, struggle with foes. I have been at risk in the city, at risk in the country, endangered by desert sun and a sea storm, and betrayed by those I thought were my brothers. So no, I have no drudgery. I have hard labor, many the long and lonely night without sleep, many a missed meal, blasted by the cold, naked to the weather. You think pulpit, you like the ego that come with pulpit, right? The suits, the mic, the eloquence. Now this is my home profile. Let me run you through it. This is my profile. Let me run you through it. Verse 28 to 29, and that is not the half of it. When you throw in the daily pressure and anxiety of all the churches, yes. When someone gets to the end of his rope, I feel the desperation in my bones. When someone is duped into sin, an angry fire burns in my gut. 30-33. If I have to brag about myself, I will brag about the humiliations that makes me like Jesus. The eternal and blessed God and Father of our Master Jesus knows I'm not lying. Remember the time I was in Damascus and the governor of King Artaxerxes posted guards at the city gate to arrest me. I crawled through a window in the wall, was let down in a basket, and had to run for my life. This is profile. This is what I brag about. The humiliations, the afflictions, the things I suffered just for the sake of Christ. The anxiety that comes with managing churches across regions, across provinces, beaten, battered. See how many times it was beaten? It was even beaten more than Jesus. See the things he went through. What have you been through for Christ? What have you been through for Christ? A little here, a little there, you're already tired saying, is this God real? Is this still God? Look at Apostle Paul's profile. I'm sure your profile can't come near Apostle Paul's own. Lord, yet he stood his ground. He had to brag about all this. Rather than say, oh, I preached in 10,000 church, 1 million were saved. He talked about the hardship he went through because the Corinthians have started questioning his authority over them. Today's faith challenge. I pray for those that have been persecuted for the sake of the gospel.